Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Welcome to the Global Christian Mental Health Conference. Before I start, I would just like to say to our leaders a huge thank you for your service, for giving to the Lord, and for everything that you have done for us. We appreciate it. I know that people management can be very difficult at times, and sometimes it looks like it's very hard to lead us, but we the people would like to thank you for your service. We want you to know that we love you and we appreciate you. We love and appreciate your family, and we want to see the best happen for you and for your family as well. We want for you to know that. And it is with that we're doing this, session. If this is not your discipline, if this is not what you do as your regular day job, as well as being a leader, and we want to be able to offer you the tools through these sessions to be able to do that, to get help for yourself and those that you lead. So thank you for coming. I'm just going to show you a quick clip as to what is first aid for mental health. So, first aid for mental health. What's first aid for mental health, really? If you have your pen and paper now, you would have seen the questions I'm going to ask you. How is your mental health? Before we even look into first aid for mental health, start exploring it. How is your mental health? Is it good? Is it bad? What are the signs? Why is your mental health good or bad? And what are you doing about it? How is your mental health? So here is a question I would like to ask you. Since the start of the pandemic, have you felt any of these for more than 2 weeks or a month? Are you feeling any of them now? More than 2 weeks or a month. We've been in the pandemic now for 18 months. And here's another question. Have you felt any of these before? Did you feel any of these before the pandemic for 2 weeks to a month? Anxious. Have you felt anxious, worried, stressed, tired of the pandemic, or what they call pandemic fatigue? You can't eat or sleep properly. You can't make proper plans or decisions. Have you felt angry and restless and withdrawn? Do you have muscle tension or chest pains? Do you wake up worried or sweating, crying for no reason, in fear that someone's going to die? Do you have panic attacks? And have you been shopping endlessly? You're just shopping endlessly, you don't know why. It just makes you happy to shop or to eat or to do any of these things. If you have, it is said that if you've experienced any one of these for more than 2 weeks, you are experiencing a mental health condition. Yes, you are. If you've experienced this for longer, without professional help, you are heading into mental illness. So that's what it said. That's the science behind it. I'm not making it up. We have a wealth of professionals that can help you to be able to get to the bottom of it. So did you know that mental health does not simply mean the absence of a mental illness or mental, that's not what it is. It is possible to have good mental health whilst living with a diagnosed mental illness. In contrast, there will be someone who has no diagnosable mental illness, but still can have a low level of well-being. So if we look to the top of our little chart here, it says to the top left, you have a person who experiences an excellent level of mental well-being, regardless of being diagnosed with a mental illness. So this person has been diagnosed, but because they take care of themselves, they are able to take care and have good mental health. While you have a person who experiences on the right-hand side, the top right, experiences an excellent level of mental health and well-being and has no mental illness. So they have no diagnosis, no conditions, all their signs and symptoms are absolutely perfect. And then you have the bottom half of this diagram here, where we say to the left-hand corner, there's a person who has been diagnosed with a mental illness, and also experiences a low level of well-being. So they have a diagnosis. They do not take care of their mental health. So they might not be taking their medication or going to therapy. And so they continue to have this low level of mental well-being, while you have on your bottom right a person who has no diagnosable mental illness but has a low level of mental well-being. And that's one of the reasons why we're here for this group of people. And if you are experiencing any of this, and if those you lead are experiencing any of this, you have no diagnosis, but you often have this low level of mental well-being. And we looked at some of the ways that you would feel earlier just now. You're feeling that for 2 weeks or more without any form of professional help. So what exactly is mental health? So mental health is your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how you feel, how you act, how you make decisions. It also helps to determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, how we make choices. So everyone has mental health. It affects our relationships, our emotions, our hormone, and coping skills. The term mental health is okay. So if I say to you physical health, you would not have a problem. If I say to you physical health, you would think of someone who has a good BMI, has good blood sugar levels, blood pressure levels, have a good body weight, really. No adverse sickness, no sickness whatsoever maybe. And so you don't normally think of the term physical health as a bad word. And that's what we want to do today. We want to remove the stigma from mental health. It is a good word. It's your health, the health of your mind. Our situations, the situation that occurs when we start having mental health conditions or mental illness. And that's what we want to address. And we looked earlier at some possible mental health conditions that you could be feeling or experiencing. And mental health conditions. So mental illness covers a very broad range of mental health problems, which can involve changes to our thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and relationship with others over a period of time that is left unaddressed and untreated. So if you start having these, like what you were having earlier, it is something to watch for. It's just a condition. It's normal, a normal reaction that God has made us with. But if you leave it unaddressed and untreated, that's when you are going to start having a mental illness. And mental illnesses are associated with distress and problems functioning in our day-to-day lives, in our social setting, at work, in our families. But mental illness is treatable, I should say. So all is not lost. It's treatable. We want to ensure that as leaders, you are functioning correctly, and those you are serving are functioning correctly as well, and that you will be able to spot the signs and symptoms of those who are not functioning correctly to be able to give that help and support. So who can be affected by mental illness or a mental health condition? Everyone. Anyone can be affected by it. You've got men and women, children. And in particularly, we want to highlight Sunday school teachers who we would just want for you to be able to spot the signs when you're giving help to these children. That men, women, and children can be affected. Long before the pandemic, people thought that mental health was just for the people over there. But the pandemic has really made mental health come home to the individual's space and made a lot of us think differently about mental health. So you can have excellent mental health, which you can keep that way, or it can deteriorate over time due to triggers. And we looked at that earlier, that you were experiencing some kind of change for 2 weeks or more. You can have a diagnosed condition that gets better with the right help, or will get worse without the right help. So if left unaddressed. So the factors that can affect your mental health, we've got biological factors, genetics, disability, drug use. Nobody here is doing that, of course. You've got the social factors, you've got poverty, trauma, relationships, peers, peers, your family, friends, and you have all these things that you call your coping skills or your social mechanisms. If you don't have those, you're going to have a problem. So these are just some of the things that can affect your mental health. Here in First Aid for Mental Health, here at ECAF, we tend to deliver training on the general mental health conditions. So we've got stress and anxiety, depression, post-traumatic disorder, stress disorder. You've got eating disorder, schizophrenia, suicide, drug and alcohol misuse, self-harm, personality disorder, bipolar, and psychosis. Then we also look at how to do your mental health policy if you're an organization. And we also look at how to form a positive mental health culture in your environment. So whether it's your work or your church, we deliver to corporate as well. It's how to formulate and build to ensure that you put into your work routine and policies a positive mental health culture within the church structure. So what is First Aid for Mental Health? First Aid for Mental Health teaches individuals how to take care of their own mental health. So you will learn how to take care of your mental health first. If you're not well, you can't help anyone. Then how to spot the signs of some major mental health conditions like what we just looked at. How to give immediate help to someone experiencing a mental health condition. And that is where a lot of people usually miss it. So they think they know what the signs and symptoms are, but they don't know how to give immediate help. It teaches you how to refer to clinical services, the professionals, how to encourage the individual to develop self-help strategies, and how to implement a positive mental health culture in your workplace or organization or group. And this is evidence-based and accredited by First Aid Awards UK and with CME credits from the Royal College of London. So I just wanted to point out that when I was first trained in the regular first aid, I realized how little I knew about saving someone's life. I didn't know how to use an AED. I was really, really scared of actually even using the AED. I didn't know how to do CPR. After doing my first aid course, I realized that I wouldn't have been able to help anyone around me if they collapsed. And the people around me probably would not have been able to help me if I collapsed as well. And that's when I noticed that, I realized it was important for everyone to be trained in regular first aid, to be able to, once a person is unconscious, you try to start doing CPR, you go for the AED, you shock the heart, make sure that the heart is moving, make sure that blood is circulating. And the AED isn't going to kill them anyway. It will tell you whether you need to shock the heart or not, and if you do, how many times to shock it. It's the same thing. If we see someone collapse in the natural, we can give help. We want to be able to spot the signs of when someone's mind is collapsing or has collapsed, to give that kind of help. And First Aid for Mental Health also helps with recovery. So the person has experienced a mental health crisis, it will teach you how to help with that recovery part of their life. We really want to emphasize that if you see a house on fire, you will be able to go and call the fire department. We want to be able to spot the signs of when somebody's mind basically is on fire, to be able to help them right there and then, that immediate help before the ambulance comes, before they go to see their doctor. Is that immediate help that we want to give. So it aims to preserve life where a person could be a danger to themselves or others, alleviate suffering by providing immediate comfort and support, prevent the condition from developing into a more serious problem, and it promotes recovery of good mental health by signposting or directing and for you to obtain clinical support and encourage self-help. So we want to ensure that, it promotes all of that. It supports early intervention, prevention, treatment, destigmatization. It supports all health and safety acts around the world. And it also supports the mental health policy of all organizations. If you are sitting here as a church, or if you are sitting here as a company and you do not have a mental health policy, we do also help you to write your mental health policy and procedures and help to formalize a robust system of implementing it and, developing a positive mental health culture in your workplace. So along with being able to, when we say spot the signs and symptoms, what we mean is that you've got the signs, and a sign is how the individual is looking or behaving to you, the onlooker. What can you see is happening to the person? What can you see if you're looking at the person? And then you've got symptoms, which is how the individual is feeling or how they tell you they're feeling or behaving. So they will tell you how they feel or what they feel like doing and what is happening to them. So that's what we mean by sign. So you will be able to ask the right questions. In that immediate help you're trained to give, we teach you how to ask the right questions to be able to get this answer from the individual as to how they're feeling. Then you'll be able to make a quick assessment of how they look and how they are behaving to give that immediate help. Then we talk about how to cope and how to give help. When we talk about how to take care of your mental health, as we said before, we talk about self-help and other well-being strategies. Then we teach you how to use our conversation plan to give that immediate help and support. And it involves where and when and how to speak to the person and how to cultivate a positive mental health culture. And we're just going to stop our sharing there and just do a quick recap. So far, how is your mental health? How is your mental health? Good? Bad? So what are the benefits of first aid for mental health? There are some benefits, and we just want to share those with you. You'll be able to take care of your mental health, as well as encourage and support those who you lead to take care of their mental health. It's as simple as that. You'll be able to take care of your mental health and to be able to encourage those you lead to take care of their mental health. You'll be able to give immediate support to those who are around you at the onset of a mental health problem, crisis, or if they are recovering, they've come back from experiencing some form of mental health problem and they are now recovering, you're able to give them that kind of help and support that they need. What else do we do here? What are also the benefits? You give that immediate support upon their recovery. So if they're at the beginning of a mental health crisis, if they're in the middle of it, and you're right there, you're able to give that kind of support. If they have come back from having a crisis and they're recovering, you're also able to give that support. And that's what we want to encourage. We want to encourage. So who should be trained? That's why we're here today. We say all groups, schools, colleges, churches. We've trained the Jamaica Constabulary Force. We're going to show you a video of that towards the end. And we've trained numerous church and community groups, frontline staff, and the public and private sector. So just about, we would like to see all of the church leaders, the executive board, Sunday school teachers. Once you are in a leadership position at church, we would like to see you trained in first aid for mental health to be able to give that help and support. to those that you lead. So again, anyone and everyone should be trained in first aid for mental health. It is really important. So we think about, all clergy, family members of those with mental health challenges, healthcare professionals, emergency services, courts and probation and immigration, just about if you're here and you work with individuals, and you live with individuals, just as how I would encourage individuals to be trained in regular first aid, I would really encourage you to be trained in first aid for mental health. So we have 3 courses. They graduate. We've got a level 1, we've got a level 2 and a level 3. You can do an accredited course, which means that you get to do an exam, and you get your CME credits, which is if you're within the medical field, you will get your continuing medical education credits. We're also looking to get credits for social workers and teachers and lawyers and other professions for CPD purposes. So we've got our level 1, which is awareness of first aid for mental health. It's a half-day course, 2.5 hours. We've got a level 2, which is a 5-hour course. So we're all online at the minute because of COVID, which probably is better for a lot of people to be online. So we've got a first aid for mental health course, the 1-day course, and then we've got a level 3, which is supervising first aid for mental health, which is a 2-day course. And we normally ask executive leaders, HR professionals, and those who can make the decisions about creating and implementing a positive mental health culture within the work setting. We ask for them to take this course, but anyone can take the course if they want to. We also do something called Family First Aid for Mental Health, which teaches individuals how they play a role in their family to affect their own mental health and their family members' mental health. And then we've got 1-hour workshops on specific topics. So if it's just anxiety we want to look at, we do 1-hour workshops for that as well. And as we said, all of our courses are accredited with CME credits, or you can have the non-accredited course. It's the same course, you just don't do the exam, but you also get the CME credits. So you can contact us for any further information for courses and prices, and we have loads of good such offers, discounts every month, because we want to get the message out to everyone. So we are in the middle of a pandemic, and I asked you, how was your mental health? How is your mental health, I should say? How is it going? And you've thought about it. You know, my mental health is this, my mental health is that. Only you can know. So what we're going to be looking at now is what we call in the mental health world triggers. So we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're facing what professionals will call triggers to affecting your mental health. Some of these triggers would be uncertainty, the lack of control. You don't know. The news, the information changes from time to time. You've got isolation. We've got social distance. We've got abuse. A lot of people are staying home together, and a lot of abuse, abuse is happening. We've got trauma, death all around, the loss of income for some people, the lack of enough money because circumstances have changed. You might need a bigger house because everyone can't stay at home together. You might realize that you need more computer gadgets, or you need to increase the speed of your internet, but you don't have the money to do so. You've got the social disadvantage because you don't have enough, your house is too small for all of you to be in. You probably have homelessness because if you can't pay your rents or your mortgage, you'll be made homeless, and you're feeling stressed at it all. You don't know when this is going to end. Some more triggers are, as we said, abuse, domestic violence. So whether it's physical or verbal abuse or financial abuse. You've got poverty, you just don't have, you've got drug or alcohol abuse. And then you've got the fear of death of self or a loved one. You've got this feeling anxious, really anxious, because again, we don't have a timeline as to when this will ever end, when will normal be again. You've got long-term illness while facing this crisis. You're having to take care of someone who has a long-term illness in the middle of this crisis, and you are so fearful of contracting the virus, and fearful of what will happen or whether you will die. And these are what we consider as having triggers. They're triggers, and that's why, and I just want to point out that, remember that Christians experience all of these, and some have actually tried to kill themselves or have killed themselves as a result. And remember when we asked you earlier about how is your mental health, and if you had experienced any of these, you're anxious, worried, stressed, tired of the pandemic or pandemic fatigue, can't eat or sleep properly, can't make proper plans, you're angry, you're restless, you're withdrawn, you have muscle tension or chest pains, you wake up worried or sweating, you're crying for no reason, you have panic attacks, and you're shopping endlessly, it's because of these triggers that we've just discussed. These have triggered them. But there is help. So before I close, I just want to let you know that there are characters in the Bible who have experienced mental health conditions. We look at Jonah, we look at Elijah, we look at David. Jonah, what was Jonah thinking? He said, throw me overboard. That was basically suicide, but he was so distressed at the fact that, he didn't want to go. He's trying to run away. He's caused this problem, just throw me overboard. Elijah was worried that Jezebel would kill him. And, all woe is me, all is lost. I'm here. I'm just sitting under this tree. And David, he suffered great stress and anxiety from Saul wanting to kill him. And then everything else that happened in his life. I think his own son tried as well, or tried to take over. So it is not anything that is new to the child of God. We often face uncertainties because we walk by faith, but we have a coping mechanism. We have a system by which it remains the same. We can still use it to cope. And here are a few things. You can pray. You can pray. You can still do the regular things you'll do if you're facing any form of circumstance. Make a new routine for your work and home to just get yourself back into some kind of normal life in the middle of the chaos. Learn relaxation techniques, breathing and stretching. We're not talking about any mysticism, anything here. Learn something new, volunteer, be a safe space for someone who might be struggling, spend quality time with family and friends. And if your family and friends are the source of your problem, you might want to start a new network system of support. You can interact with them, but your support system will have to come from somewhere else, and limit your interaction with them and get this new network or support. We would like for you to eat and maintain a healthy diet, get enough sleep. It doesn't make any sense that you don't sleep. You're worried about stuff that could not possibly happen. Exercise, monitor the amount of news you take in, and fact check your information. Nothing is worse than losing sleep over something that's not true. So make sure you fact check your information. Ask for help if you're feeling overwhelmed. Ask for help. It is possible for you to ask for help, and contact your doctor or any of the helplines that are available to you. Sorry. Make sure to contact the professionals for any kind of help, and that's help in your natural. So how do we cope as well in the spiritual? We know that the opposite of fear, which we're all experiencing as a result of the pandemic, is faith. And faith brings with it a level of uncertainty. We know that. Just so, even though we're facing a pandemic that's uncertain, we were already facing uncertainties because we walk by faith. But we, the church, have the power to help ourselves and to help the world. We have God, we have the Word of God, we have the Holy Spirit, and that's why This is so important for us to take ownership of this and deal with the situation and the matter straight away from a godly perspective. We have, along with all the natural things, we have the spiritual things to help us as well. So we have our faith. And it says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. Wherever there is fear, there is going to be no power, no love, and an unsound mind. And so we, as Christians, want to ensure that we remove that element of fear from our lives and release power, love, and a sound mind. We're no longer under fear and bondage. When we are suffering from an unsound mind, the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And it says, oh, wherefore to gird up our loins, the loins of our mind, and be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. It also says he will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him, and we should be anxious for nothing but in prayer and supplication. So David said, why art thou cast down, O my soul? Hope thou in God. So if we apply the natural and apply these things, we are able to manage our triggers and then manage how we are feeling. That's when we talk about getting help and support. And if it's all too much for us to manage, we should seek professional help. So what would I like to see happen from this session? I would like for you as a leader to take care of your mental health. Take vacations, use all some of the tools I've just given you. Take the first aid for mental health course. Take some kind of mental health awareness training. Get counseling, Christian counseling for yourself, for your team. Have a robust care team, a system by which after someone has finished preaching or teaching or ministering, help comes to them in whatever shape or form. Do we even have that? And it would be remiss of me to think that our churches don't have that, but some churches don't have that. Preachers go out and preach, they go by themselves, there's no accountability, there is no care, that kind of self-care and mental health care. No one's checking on them to ensure that they're okay, that they're not triggered by something that they saw or a message that they preached. So we want to ensure that we have this robust system in place in our organizations, in our churches, where we can have that streamlined. We want to see the leaders working with professionals. These are our Christian counselors, the discerners and intercessors to address these issues that come up in the church, whether it's in leaders, whether it is in those you lead. And we want to see that working, established and working, strong training, a strong Christian counseling group. And if you are a leader and you don't have the skill, it's not your training, it's not your discipline for counseling, there are a lot of Christian counselors that you can tap into to give that person that help that they need. So after you have spot the signs and symptoms, you are able to say, you know what, I think you need a bit of help here. Let me help you. And I know a professional group that can help you to do all of this. What we don't want you to do is to take it all on and try and do it yourself and then realize that it's not working. It's not working out. You don't really have the skill and the tools and the means by which to help the individual, and it goes to kaputs after that. We don't want that to happen. We don't want, so we want to encourage you that you can get help to be able to manage. We know that you're the leader, but sometimes you might not know what to do. So we're telling you, within this conference, you've got a group of counselors who are Christian counselors who can give the right help. So in closing, how is your mental health? Is it good? Is it bad? Why is it good? If there are positives that you've been doing, keep doing them. If it's bad, why is it bad? You probably need to look at what's causing it to be bad and for getting the right help. And this involves doing the first aid for mental health course, awareness training, self-help, and professional help. This is what will help you to achieve your mental health. Remember that we said there's mental health, a mental health condition, and mental illness. What we all want to achieve is mental health. That's what we all, towards the end of this little life, we want to achieve. So I'm going to share my screen with you now and let you hear from the experts. So we have trained the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and they're going to tell you what they think of the...
This course is a very good course. It should benefit any person who is interested in the mental health, their own mental health and the mental health of their colleagues. I think it will benefit us here at the JCF because of the culture that we work in, the nature of the things that our officers are exposed to. So I would say yes to this course for any organization.
Right, so this program has really done quite a bit of stirring in me. I'm a psychiatrist, yes, but this program, First Aid for Mental Health, has resensitized me to some of the issues where we need to place more focus on. As a branch, Medical Services branch, we are involved in delivering first aid for physical issues, and that's mandatory for every that comes. Now I'm realizing that psychological first aid or first aid for mental health is a component of the curriculum that has to be compulsory. I realize that many of the problems that have escalated, over time within the organization, if we had people who were trained, who were on the ground with this kind of training, we could have flagged and captured many things before they got more serious and severe, and possibly save some lives which have been lost violently in the organization through the many years. So for me, what it has done, it has told me that, listen, you need to ensure that you push to integrate this as part of the mandatory training program for all recruits coming into Jamaica Constabulary Force.
So thank you once again for listening to the presentation. We pray that you were blessed by it. You can contact us for training and any of the workshops or training sessions we deliver to churches, as well as to groups, workplaces, organizations. We would like to encourage everyone to be trained in first aid for mental health. It is the benefits to all. There are benefits to be had for all if you are trained. God bless you, and thank you for having us once again.